My first question is for Mr. Merrill. You've worked on development programs in Indonesia across multiple administrations.
Right.
From that vantage point, where does AI literacy fit into the broader development picture right now in Indonesia?
Well, as Ambassador Blake, U.S. Indo co-chair, just said, he enumerated numerous sectors where AI will be crucial, and you all heard that. But I just want to say how crucial AI and information technology and related fields are to Indonesia's future, but also how the U.S. and Indonesia can collaborate to have a win-win situation with AI and related fields. And I just came from a conference in Houston, a four-day, five-day conference from the Cambridge Energy Research Associates. And this is the top energy executives from all over the world and all over the United States, it's top administration officials, top thinkers, and fully 50% of the panel discussions were about AI. And they were about the effect of AI on the workforce, on the workplace, the essentiality of AI, the issues and concerns about AI, how to deal with them. What came out of it overall is that we can't live without AI. We can't hide from it. We have to embrace it. We have to know how to use it. This has happened in what, the last 3 years, maybe, something like that. It's not going to go away. It's going to increase the development, human development, environmental development, all kinds of development, as Ambassador Blake mentioned. And so where U.S. Indo gets in is in the education sector. And for years, we've been very pleased that the Finance Ministry of Indonesia has had the LPDP program that you all have probably heard of, that gives full scholarships at various country universities, including the U.S. So for those years, we've been trying to maximize the number of Indonesians that utilize that program for U.S. study. And of course, that number is quite high. We also haven't overlooked the importance of Indonesians who come here on self-financing or family financing to do similar study. We've got that in mind too. And so we were concentrating on getting more Indonesians into U.S. universities. It's not easy because I don't want to digress too much into the Indonesian educational system, but the Indonesian educational system has some issues, let's say. One of which is there's very little critical thinking in the curriculum. There's almost no critical thinking in the entire Indonesian curriculum from first grade to graduating from college. And so we started a course in critical thinking to help Indonesians get into U.S. universities. So that's a crucial need in Indonesia. That's another one along with AI. I don't know if AI will do all of the critical thinking that we should be doing, but I don't think it possibly can, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
It can't, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. So we're safe for a while. That AID won't take over our critical faculties, which have to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to steer Indonesians to the United States, we in U.S. Indo, for some time. And then in about 17 months ago, the LPDP changed its rules for Indonesian students. Previously, the LPDP said if you got an LPDP scholarship, when you got your degree, you got 30 days to get on the plane and come back, or else you owe the money back to the government of Indonesia. And about 17 months ago, they said, wait a minute, you know what? If the Indonesian student stays in the US or China or anywhere, France, UK, for another 2 years and gets practical work experience, they'll be even better equipped for the Indonesian workforce. So then one of the Indonesian high officials said to me at a luncheon about 16 months ago, David, can USindo help these Indonesian students graduating with master's degree find jobs in the US? And I say, I don't know, why not? If you want it, we can try to do it. So since that time, the idea has grown and gathered steam. And we are on the verge of starting a project and we'll be working more with Indonesian student groups such as PERMIAS, which is a general Indonesian student group in the US, Mata Garuda, which is the group for LPDP students, and the Indonesian Professionals Association, which is a specialized group. Those are the three groups. And now we have your AI group, your Nusantara AI group, which came to us like out of a very nice dream. I never heard of it till a couple of weeks ago. And I got contacted by your top official, and I said, what? You have a group? I mean, you're doing exactly what we are trying to do. I don't say you beat us to it. I don't know who beat who to it. It doesn't make any difference. We're more or less at the same point. So, because although we started with any Indonesian who's in the United States, now in the current environment, including the political environment in the United States, we're switching much more to AI and closely related fields, information technology, computer programming, and so forth. But AI, I guess, if I had to pick one, it would be AI. And so if you have this institute, in fact, I was happy to hear about it, but I heard that it's mainly in Massachusetts. Is that right? You're mainly in Massachusetts right now, right?
That's right.
And so I want you to do all that you can in Massachusetts, but I can't wait for the day when you go larger and nationally, and if we can help in that, we're going to do that. So we have discussed this with the Indonesian ambassador to the United States, who's on the board of LPDP, coincidentally. We've discussed this with the National Economic Council of Indonesia and others. And we've said that USindo wants to make a formal program to contact Indonesian students studying in high-tech, IT, AI fields. Maybe I've left out one or two specializations in the United States, and ask them, do you want to have a job for 2 years in the United States before you go back? People tell me that virtually 95% of them will say yes. We've already identified somebody who is a workforce specialist who's worked in Indonesia and the US to help make those connections. Okay? I can go on a little bit, right? Okay. And so we're ready to start the project as soon as we get some funding from the Indonesian government, which is expected to be approved any week now. And then we have to go out and contact the US multinationals who have business in the US, let's say Boeing, let's say ExxonMobil, companies like that, but who also have companies in Indonesia. And those companies are the prime targets because these are companies that can't find these students. They can't find enough American students to do this. And then if the Indonesian students fill a gap in the company's workforce that they can't fill and go on and do well in the United States in their 2 years, that very same company can hire them in their Indonesian affiliate. So it's a win-win-win-win type of situation. And a lot of people come to me and they say, David, throwing cold water on this idea. They say, David, don't you realize that President Trump is opposed to this? He's opposed to foreign students. He's attacking Harvard or Columbia and so forth. And the funny thing is, he is attacking Harvard and Columbia, but he's in favor of hiring Asian students to fill vacancies in U.S. companies. Now, I don't know if he's communicated that to the new head of immigration or not, who's been opposed to OPT, who was just recently appointed May 15th by President Trump. But President Trump has at least 3 times since the beginning of last year been on programs or cabinet meetings where he has publicly called for more foreign students to work in U.S. companies, despite the fact that the Immigration Service is downplaying that. And he even got attacked by other Republicans when he said, I want to see 300,000 Chinese and other Asian students work in vacancies in IT and AI in the United States. And that particular group of the Republican Party said, you can't be serious, you don't want Chinese, do you? And, because he believes many of them are connected to the intelligence agency. But at least that's what he said. So he said, I do. And then he was asked, well, why? And he said, because if you want to build a submarine, do you think there's enough American students that know how to just jump in and do that? American students don't study this. Now, if you want to really do me a favor, somebody in here or anywhere can tell me why it is that American students don't want to study this in the same numbers as Asian students. I certainly don't know. But every person I talk to says it's true. So I'm accepting it's true. I think I'll stop there, and that's enough to chew on. And we'll go to the other panel.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. You spoke about the importance of AI in education. Russell, from where you sit at MIT, what does AI literacy actually need to look like to be useful? Because as I'm sure you know, there's a surface level version to it, and also a version that genuinely changes what people can do.
AI is, how I think of AI is that it's another tool. AI means different things, right? Like, I think in the past I've started doing worked in machine learning back when large language models was not a thing, and in the past 3 years has been a boom, and large language models has been. I think everyone uses. Who doesn't? Let's see around the room who uses ChatGPT, Gemini, and all these tools in their day-to-day work. That's almost everyone in the room, right? But how I think of these new AI tools or even machine learning, data analytics, is that it's, if not used properly, then it's not going to be as effective, right? It's like there's also the bad side of things. We can misuse AI, and at MIT, I run a program for manufacturing education. We teach smart manufacturing, and we create learning facilities, learning tools to do these. And what our point of view with AI or data analytics, machine learning is that we want to create what we call as a bilingual workforce. When we say bilingual, it doesn't mean that you speak both like English or Bahasa Indonesia, but what we mean by that is that you're literate in AI, data science, and you're also literate in your domain. So I feel that once we have these, what we call as the bilingual workforce, we can be powerful, Because let's say, particularly I'm in the field of manufacturing, that's my domain, and I'm able to apply AI tools accordingly. That's what makes it more productive. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Russell. Following up on what you were just saying, you are currently inside one of the most AI-dense environments in the world. When you look back at Indonesia from that perspective, what is the actual gap? Is it talent, infrastructure, curriculum, incentives? What's the binding constraint?
So I think in Indonesia in particular, I think just like echoing what David had said earlier, I think there's a lack of problem solving in our curriculum. I'm fortunate enough to be when I did my middle school and high school in Indonesia, I did both the national program as well as an international program. So I did the A levels as well as the Ujian Nasional pathway. That was back in 2017. And I do realize the difference in curriculum where with international curriculum where we are encouraged to be more creative and know how to do critical thinking, problem solving, versus doing the national curriculum back then, which was more of like memorization. And I feel like there's a gap here if we're starting to distribute AI tools to Indonesians where they don't know how to use it properly. Because when you're not, when you're trained in a culture where what you do is memorize, stick with the status quo, innovation is not culture, that's when you don't know how to use AI, right? So so I feel like one step is to be able to convey, and hopefully Nusantara AI does this, to convey how AI tools can be used to solve problems and how to use it effectively to solve problems. Because there's an art to identifying what's the problems that are happening around you, and that's something that AI couldn't really teach you. It's something that you have to know, something that you have to be aware of, something that you probably have to learn from your own domains, and from there, I feel that if we then empower these people who knows how to use how to identify problems, how to solve problems around them, people who have specific domains, whether it's engineering, business, IT, if you empower them with AI, teach them how to use AI tools effectively, and I think that this will be a powerful revolution where we can have a lot of people in Indonesia using AI for the better and for growth.
Thank you, Russell, and thank you also, Mr. Merrill, for both talking about the importance of critical thinking when it comes to using AI. Patrick, with your experience working at Pitcher, an industry leader in AI sales, how have you seen AI impact businesses in the United States? Specifically, when it comes to operational efficiency and increased profitability, it would be interesting to see how we can apply some of the lessons you share to the in-region market.
Yeah, so well, it's interesting to have had a, I actually grew up in the UK. I spent most of my life, actually, I spent 25 years of my life in London, right? I went to an international school. I ended up working, I went to Imperial College London, if some of you are aware of it, and I ended up working between, the US, the UK, Canada, across Europe and whatnot, and had exposure to Asia and whatnot. And what's interesting is being able to see, I guess, just how AI and everything has really influenced, I guess, the way businesses operate in the U.S. But in terms of how that differs across other geographies, right? Now, I have worked in a business, actually one of my colleagues is here, from the previous business, Will over there. We worked in a business called Seismic, and that is, every business says it's for operational efficiency and whatnot these days. But what that actually means is, everyone says that. So it's for us. For us at the time, it was actually driving forward a kind of a better go-to-market engine within businesses and enterprises, so that people could, drive their revenue and cut the bureaucracy, I guess, internally with their content management to get their messages out the door and whatnot. But the way I see that AI has really impacted American businesses is similar. I feel like it's driven efficiency, in a way that, it's just different from, I think, Asia and the way that things have been adopted there. I feel like it's been adopted in a kind of funny, I'd say, in a way that it's almost, I feel like not to go on a little side tangent here, but what I'm thinking of is that there's almost benefit to being in the back seat with, seeing how the U.S., for example, is driving forward an AI initiative, or the use of AI, because it's actually kind of a scary tool, right? You see how, you see the negatives that can come from the use of AI, right? And that's something that, if we're going along that theme of like how Indonesia, I guess, how some of these things that can be learned, I guess, for the Indonesian market adopting and whatever, and making good use of it. I think you can learn from some of the mistakes that some of the abuses of AI and how it's actually used for the worse, But in terms of just how it drives operational efficiency, I think it's such a big question, right? there's a million things that, there's the macro level, there's the micro level. I figure actually talking in such smart company from such distinguished, government officials here, from a macro standpoint, you can see, everything that's being said, and then from a micro standpoint, as you were saying, Russell, like everybody uses AI. All of this, is creating a completely more efficient economy. I think Indonesia could be, they could be leveraging a lot of what we're doing here, but learning from a lot of the mistakes that we've also experienced. So, yeah.
Let me just concur on that.
Yeah.
About 100 years ago, there was a famous economist called, last name was Veblen, Thorsten Veblen, and he wrote an essay on the advantages of being a follower and on the penalties of taking the lead. And what you just said reminds me of that. And he, over 20 pages or so, laid out how countries that took the lead made mistakes, cost them money. Countries who came in just second or third could learn from those mistakes, avoid them, and then leapfrog, not making those mistakes. So there's probably some truth in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'd actually like to now open up the floor to both all three of you, because there's often a real tension between what is technically ambitious and what is practically deployable. Where do you see that tension, and where do you disagree?
So can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, no worries. There's often a tension between what is technically ambitious with AI and what is also practically deployable.
Uh-huh.
In what ways do you three agree on what is deployable, and in what ways do you disagree?
Yeah. Russell?
Okay, I'll share my view on this. I think what's ambitious, I think we've been hearing a lot of the term AGI recently, so artificial general intelligence, which people think that AI can solve all the problems in the world. But I think that's like technically ambitious. I myself am not too deep on like investigating what's actually possible with AI, like is AGI even possible? Because I think I've heard a lot of different views from my colleagues. Some says that we might get hit by the physical abilities of computation. We might need different types of method of computing to do that. And to me, it's just, it doesn't, I don't see the world being taken over by AI. I mean, like, if you have a leak at home, there should be a plumber who fixes your home, electrician who does things, and making physical things, which is what I am. I identify myself as a mechanical engineer. But AI can be powerful if we know how to like deploy it properly. Like, there's a lot of small problems that we can just automate from our daily lives, and echoing from what Patrick said, it's driving operational efficiencies in companies. But at the same time, I feel like that since, again, like all of us here are users of AI, AI is a tool that that's very accessible today. You can just download the ChatGPT app or open it on the website, ask it a few questions, give you a few things back. I feel that there's a lot, each of us, and also at the same time, each of us has our own domains. There are people in business, people in sales, marketing, people in the government, engineers such as myself, software engineers, people in IT. And there are small benefits that we can immediately take advantage of from AI today. And I believe since we have like a young audience here, including myself, I think we are very AI literate and we use it on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's encouraging the use of AI, applying that to your specific domain, but still a lot of what's important is knowing your domain and how to apply AI properly to that.
And I think just to add to that, so yeah, I think there is just a lot out there everyone is trying to create, to replace some way of doing things, something altogether, or replace a product or a service completely with AI. And I think in the case for Indonesia, for example, where I think this, would be a great focus. And I think, I think the focus should be more on adoption and actually being able to leverage the AI for doing things better. So anything from a shopkeeper up to a business executive, up to someone in the government or whatever, doing their trade just better. And that's where this comes in, is that being able to upskill people to make sure that all of the like young, hungry, people smart economy that really kicks in. I think that's what the focus should be on. But yeah, I feel like if we're talking about what is it, technically aggressive and
technically ambitious and practically deployable.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like it comes into play with the technical aspect. I think with everybody wanting to just change everything, I think that's what's gotten in the way of like what we're doing here. And anyway, sorry.
Well, I just had a thought, which is always nice.
Thank you.
And,
I'll take that one. I think it works.
That I haven't heard this discussed yet, but I see a lot of young faces sitting out there, and some of those minds are saying, AI, yes, that's for me, I'm gonna go study AI. There's probably at least half of the people out there who might be afraid of it and doubt their competency and say, I would rather study history, I would rather study geography, I'm just not equipped for AI. And what do we do for those people? Do we just dismiss them and say, I'm sorry, if you don't have the kind of mind that's needed for AI, forget about you? Mm-hmm. Or can somebody think of some nooks and crannies of AI that are doable by people that are not mathematical geniuses?
Oh yeah.
Has that come up yet? I don't think so.
I think of myself. I'm certainly not a mathematical genius. I'm not the technical one in the room. I can tell you that for free. But no, I think that has grown, yeah.
Mr. Merrill, your experience in U.S. Indo, and also Patrick, your experience at Imperial College London, as well as your previous backgrounds. What is one thing the three of you would like to tell the Indonesian students in this room about how to position themselves in this moment of AI? Mr. Merrill, if you could please go first.
Well, as was said and agreed to by panelists, it's difficult. It's difficult to break this down analytically. I think it's been accepted here that Indonesian universities are not teaching in a critical thinking fashion, they're teaching in more of a rote memorization fashion. We've tried to get critical thinking started, and we have a little bit, but it's just a little drop in the bucket. So the government needs to get engaged, the Indonesian government needs to get engaged in the Indonesian curriculum from the bottom up to introduce critical thinking more and more. Now, despite that, and this is a tricky subject, there are certain innate skills that people have more than others. And so the ones that have those skills and aptitudes already have that, despite the fact that their government educational curriculum may not have emphasized critical thinking. So there's plenty of opportunity for those. And what we want to do, as well as said before, is broaden that out for those that don't have that innate advantage, and to learn about how to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. Patrick, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Sure. So I think, what's interesting going to Imperial College. So I was just saying this earlier, actually, at the table over there. Is that what I thought was interesting was that I went to school with a lot of people from Thailand, from China, Indonesia, the Philippines, and whatnot. And I was saying I was always really jealous that they could come to, they came to London, and they would, excuse me, they would see something that that was really inspiring, or that, that was done well and all that, and then they would then take that back home and innovate and do it kind of probably even better, quicker, smarter, and for their own markets. And I always thought that was just a really interesting approach. I mean, it's not novel, but the fact that they're not recreating the wheel is also something that's very interesting. But they're also taking that from a younger perspective, having gone to the business school or gone to School of Engineering and whatnot, and taking it back and probably making, like I was saying, a better version of it. And I feel like if the students here really, the younger population here are wanting to take things back to Indonesia and actually apply it, I feel like there's a lot that they can take and do better from here. And again, going back to what we were saying before, learning from the previous mistakes that we had, right? With AI and whatnot. So.
Thank you, Patrick. Russell, do you have any final concluding remarks on this topic?
You're like, no.
So I think this Nusantara AI is a great start, because then we have, it's created by students who are studying here in the U.S. We're trying to create a movement to help Indonesians get more, become more AI literate. And I think that to like David's point earlier on, like what happens if someone's studying history and they're not comfortable using AI? What happens then, right? So I think it's we are a critical mass here, that we have people from different domain expertise, and we speak our own languages in each of our domains. And I think we should all contribute on being able to transfer this knowledge to people in Indonesia, to be more AI literate. So I think that we can play a part in showing that, hey, I've been using AI in my domain. How do I and let's create a course together, share it with the Indonesians. And I think that's like one way that we all can contribute back to Indonesia.
Can I say just one more thing?
Yes.
So,
please.
yeah, that's totally right. So this is less to do with, I guess, what people can do individually to take back and I guess use it in Indonesia or, you know, young people in their careers and whatnot. But back to what you said, David, actually, which is important, and how I can actually pull from my work is if I look at things like a sales deal. So you know you need if you want to have a customer buy a product and then implement it and then be successful with it and then to have that grow and spread across the business, you need buy-in from the top, right? You need like executive sponsorship, because when you don't, it then gets fragmented and no one takes ownership of it, right? And then things start to fizzle and often die, right? And that's exactly what these guys are doing, because if it's actually led and driven at the kind of government level and you really push to make that a priority, then I think it has the best chance at actually, you know, driving the whole country and like, you know, the younger, all the smart people who are just ready to, they're just super hungry and ready to build something amazing. So yeah, just to draw that parallel and then to support David's point.
And Russell, Patrick, Mr. Merrill, thank you so much for speaking here today. We'd now like to open the time for our networking session, so please feel free to stand up, meet new people, as well as our 3 panelists up here if you have any questions or ideas. Additionally, if you would like to speak to Mr. Merrill about the U.S. Indo program, which places Indonesian students into work opportunities in the United States, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much.
However, I want to just reach out to you and the Nusantara AI Institute, because tonight's program has been great, but it needs follow-up, and a lot of subjects have been raised. And I've been thinking already, quite excited about working with your group on identifying Indonesian students in the United States who can get jobs. But tonight we've raised other topics, such as Indonesian curriculum and how to produce more Indonesian students that are capable of coming to the United States and studying AI fields in the first place. So this is a little early to get into that kind of discussion, but that's not too far away. That first we tackle the students who are here, and then maybe someday with our joint resources and maybe other people's resources, we can start to tackle how to get more Indonesians here in the future to work with. So I look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill, and thank you everyone for coming tonight.